look at the first replay with Dori N
You need a whole
On-
podcast like this.
on the Dented Doors podcast
All right,
or
they're going.
sim racing
They're
show.
going. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Dented Doors Sim Racing Podcast. We have a new name, and it's horribly unoriginal. Today, we're going to talk about F1 2022 news, iRacing Season 2 2022 patch and schedule, and we have a brand new segment called Dented Doors. Thank you for the person that I'm going to post on the screen right now on YouTube that commented and suggested that name. We're going to use it for a new segment. Calvin?
Hello. Yeah, so today we... Did you like that?
That was kind of weird. Okay,
It's the fully unassuming, out of nowhere, just like I wasn't expecting it. Just I'm off screen. Like, oh, hello. Like just going with it. Yeah, so we've now got a new segment we're going to call Dented Doors, which is recommended as a name in the comments from the first episode 1. On this segment, we're going to be looking over some of your crashes. Not only to give our thoughts on kind of what happened, how it happened, but also to have a bit of a laugh at your expense, to be quite honest.
This is content.
To submit your own videos, you can visit the Dorian Discord server. There's a channel in there that gives information along with a submission form to submit your videos and that side of things.
There's a link in the description below for that. And also, we're now on Spotify going live every Monday. We're going to be releasing a new video every Monday. Not sure about the time yet, but we're still playing around with that. We'll have our set time during Mondays soon. After we'll do some testing and see when the video performs the best. But yeah, so you can find us on Spotify and YouTube right now. We have links in the description below for everything. Let's move on to the first topic today, Season 2 2022 patch overview. The good, the bad things that were added, changed. So yeah, Kelvin, what did you have in mind when it comes to the new patch? What changed for you? What did you like? What did you dislike?
So the first thing, and as promised in episode 1, they changed the LMP2, and I can't stress this enough that they screwed up. So what they did in the last patch, they have now fixed it very, very recently in the very latest small patch. What they did in the early patch for Season 2 is they removed the option to clutch in to save fuel in the LMP2. Now, it was really popular in endurance races to clutch in on the straights to roll into a corner, thereby saving a large amount of fuel over the course of a lap if you do it right. Everyone had been doing it. It had been a big thing in P2 that pretty much everyone did. Didn't work so much in 24s, but like 4, 6, 8-hour races, you could save a decent amount of fuel and you could potentially get rid of a pit stop, so you wouldn't need to short fuel at the end. There was like a massive thing. iRacing changed it so the moment you went over 100k, it just wouldn't let you clutch in, which ruined that fuel saving technique. You could still do it in every other car, including GT3, etc., but in the LMP2, you can't do that anymore, which was a bit of a nightmare. It also had the added benefit of, if you didn't have auto clutch set within the LMP2, or I think anti-stall within iRacing, if you spun out, it would cut the engine, even if you have options for like to save that. It would just automatically cut out the engine, therefore making it even harder to get the car going again to get restarted in your race. So
That sucks.
For me, it sucked. It was really frustrating. I mean, in a way, for people that were, should we say, more casual, it made it a bit easier, because it meant when it came to racing, the LMP2 and endurance races, you just go balls out. Like, none of it really matters anymore. You just absolutely cannon it round the track for a few hours. But it kind of killed the strategy a bit.
Yeah, I get it when people who are more into strategies, the 4, 6, 8-hour races, 10-hour races, like think of Petit Le Mans, the fuel strats there are incredibly powerful. 10 hours at Road Atlanta, it's a lot of fun. It's one of the best endurance races out there, honestly, on iRacing. or anywhere to be fair. Multi-class, yeah, just a great race. And part of the strategy there, I won Petit Le Mans like split 15 2 years ago with Stephen Warkup. That was a good time.
Yeah.
But yeah, the fuel strat there, that put us over the edge. We saved 2 laps per stint, and it's a short stint with a P2. So
Yeah.
it was a very powerful strategy. We lost some time. We lost like a second a lap over like our fastest possible lap, but we gained that up at the end of the race. So it was awesome. It was really good strategy, and we had a lot of fun performing it and seeing it play through at the end. And when you take that element away from it, and I'm sure that's not their direct intention with this, it's just to avoid too many exploits. But when you take that away, you also take out a bit of strategy. So maybe implement something else in return when you do something like that. Because I don't know. I don't know if they do that in real life. Is this true in real life? Do they clutch in?
I'm not sure if it's something that's done in real life. I know
Right.
in NASCAR, I remember speaking to someone that they switch the engine off to save fuel down the straights and then flick it back on.
Okay.
Someone was telling me this. I could be wrong. I like whoever I spoke to, they could be an idiot and not understood. But I have been told this, and I know in some things you'd save fuel in a similar manner,
Mm-hmm.
because you just roll into the corner.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, the bit that sucked the most about it is like a big part of endurance racing and the fun of endurance racing is the preparation, is looking for those little like advantages you can get, like optimizing how much you're abusing the tires, how much you're
Mm-hmm.
using fuel, and that sort of thing. And that's a big part of it, is in those practice sessions when you and your team are together and you're looking for, okay, on a push lap, this is exactly how much fuel I can use. Okay, where can we save fuel? Where can we clutch into to take advantage and try and save a lap or two? Like that to me is like interesting. Like I find that like some of the most fun part of preparing for the races is like getting your strategy down and getting everything right. Is like looking at your set. Okay, we've got the cameras a bit too much. Let's try and drop them back a bit. We might lose a bit of time, but we're going to save tires over the course of the stints. We might be able to double or triple. When you start taking that away,
Double, triple stint on the tires.
yeah,
You mean?
yeah, that's the
Yeah.
one. Brain's not working today. It's like it's before 6 o'clock in the evening, so I'm not fully awake yet.
Last episode, you complained about how hard you work.
Yeah, from like 6 till 6 in the morning. Like this is
Not
like
exactly regular hour,
yeah.
Mikey, are you?
But when you start taking that away, I feel like you're taking away some of the sim element of it,
Mm-hmm.
and you just start turning into like a Gran Turismo or a Forza, where
All right, calm the fuck down.
it's not as I'm not.
Don't go there so early. They just took your little clutch button. Relax.
It upset me. I had a button mapped specifically for the damn clutch, and you took it away from me, iRacing. I mean, I'm glad you gave it back, but you should never have taken it away in the first place. And I demand a public apology. Specifically, how dare you like disrespect my waifu, the
All right,
LMP2?
rant over. Let's talk about something positive. GT4s.
What, LMP GT3?
No, hold on. We're saving that to the end. Yeah, GT4s, man. I think iRacing knocked it out of the park with the GT4s right now. I've driven the Aston a lot at Watkins. I literally farmed iRating on Watkins with the Aston and GT4 fixed. Just back-to-back racing. I think I've done like 20 races in 1 week, or maybe more than that. It's so much fun to drive. It just rotates on a fixed setup, not worried about anything. It's such an underrated series. The GT4 Fix series is probably the most underrated series on iRacing right now. One of the most underrated series, because the cars are really well balanced. You can see 3, sometimes 4 different cars in the top 5 in any given race. The BOP is probably one of the best ones. Like, I don't know, in any series, in any sim right now. Like, it's really well balanced. Every car has its differences. We used the BMW M4 for Nordschleife, and it was amazing there. And then then I used the Aston on Watkins, and it was awesome. And on Summit Point, I used the Mecha, and it was really good. So the BOP is really good in that series, and the cars are actually fun to drive now. They really worked out the kinks. The suspension work now. You can set up the car how you like in big events. I think you guys should try GT4s right now. I really recommend. Did you give it any try, Calvin?
So I've never driven a GT4 in iRacing. I've never had an opportunity. Don't be
so
disappointed.
I'm
I'm
so fucking disappointed. Jesus Christ!
I'm sorry. I've never had the chance. It's never like I feel like I'd be betraying the P2. So I can't. No, I've just never had it. I've never had a chance. But like, so describe to me like. I've only ever driven like the GT3s, and if we ignore the latest version of GT3s, because they're nothing like how a GT3 should drive.
Right. So the differences between, let's say, how the GT3 used to feel like.
Like what I want to know is like how they feel like, because obviously if they're like watching some of the guys race. Obviously, I know some of the guys on the team have been racing a lot within Sim 3D Sport. And they seem to be really loving them. And look at them going around track. They look really, really fun to drive. Like they look like they've got a lot of rotation. Like they're nice on the brakes.
Yeah,
power's like enough to be fun. But like, what would you say is like the difference for anyone looking at GT4 between like old school GT3 and like a GT4?
So the cars are much tougher. So if you want to bump draft someone, even though it doesn't really work right now because there's a weird netcode issue there. Bump drafts don't work in GT4s, just so you know. But they'll fix it, I think. It's very durable. You can bang doors and the car will survive. With GT3s, every door banging causes damage and loses you time. Sometimes you do it on purpose because you think it will give you the edge right towards the end of a race or something. But in GT3's contact always costs you time, and with GT4s that is not the case. So you can be a little more aggressive, trade paint, and have a lot of fun in the process. Create some really good racing. And also the edge of grip sensation on the GT4 is really good. I think better than GT3's. So when you're coming into a corner, because you're not carrying, you don't have a lot of downforce. That's like the biggest difference, I would say. Not the power, not the mechanical grip, the downforce. So when you don't have the downforce coming into the corner, the car dances a lot more, and they really animated that well in iRacing right now in this new season patch. So you're very much engaged and you have good close racing. That combination, I was just having so much fun at Watkins. That was so good. And on the Nordschleife with the M4 and, anywhere on Summit Point with the Mecha, everything was fun. I even did some GP laps, Nürburgring GP laps with the Porsche, the Cayman. That was a lot of fun too. So they all work. Some are better than others, obviously, in certain combos, but they all work really well.
Okay, so the one question I have is, you hear a lot of people talk about the Porsche bounce. Is that still a thing?
It's still a thing, so it depends. That's why on certain tracks it won't be any good, right? But on the tracks where it's not an issue, it will be competitive.
Okay, and obviously talking about the rear end moving around on the brakes and like trying to go out on you. So would you say it's got a little bit of that skippy rear end where when you come into the braking zone, the back end wants to kind of slide into it?
It's still a tank. I wouldn't go that far because it's still like a proper car, right? It's small after a proper car. It's big, it's heavy-ish. It's still a race car, but it's heavy for a race car.
So are you saying the Skippy is not a real car? Is that what you're?
I don't want to start fights.
I mean, it's. So anybody who likes the Skip Barber, if you could post in the comments why Dori's wrong.
I respect you, but fuck the car. I don't like.
You're getting cancelled by the Skippy community right now.
I love you guys. I really do.
It doesn't sound like it.
I don't like the car they got a war, but.
No, I drove. I drove it once into Lagos, the Skippy, and I drove like 3 laps, and I was like, "Yeah, nah, I'm good." Like,
yep, I'm out.
Yep. Let's just
Well,
Let's
honestly,
just
if
put
you
this
want a
back
good
in the
open
garage.
wheeler sensation, IR04 right now and F3 always. F3 has always been fun for me. I like F3.
Yeah, all right. That if you want that sensation of having a bit of downforce but with no downforce, just drive the Radical. It's an
Oof.
infinitely better
Radical
car.
is not fun for
Like,
everyone. It's very specific. I love it, but
yeah,
it's very specific, and I only love it on certain combos. I don't like it everywhere.
yeah. I know you're a big fan of it at Nordschleife. You did well
Oof.
there.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
You did some farming there.
That was a lot of fun. That was a lot of fun. That was just day in, day out, 5 laps, going crazy.
Yeah, you like. I remember there were days where I was like seeing you online, and it was just you running the Nordschleife. You did like 6 or 7 races in a day, and because then they run every 2 hours and they're like big races, like you were just non-stop on those things. Didn't you get close to like the world record on that?
I think top 3, something like that. Top 2 or top
Damn,
3. Can't remember really.
damn. Dori got game.
Some
Dori's doing
at
all right.
certain combos, on certain combos, I'm good.
Right. So basically, like if you're looking for a driver that's really good for a combo, Radicals at Nordschleife. Anything else?
Anything else,
Look
just
elsewhere.
don't even
Yeah,
bother.
yeah. Don't call Dori. No, I remember it was really, really good. So can we talk now about the GT3s?
Yes,
I just
go on. Tell me what you think.
see, I really like them. Like I'm gonna put it out there. I really like them.
Hold on. I think you should explain first, like what happened to GT3s, and then give us your opinion.
So what they did with the GT3s in the latest patch on iRacing is they took the GT3s, they took the LMP2, and they combined them to create LMP GT3.
That is basically what they've done.
That's basically it. They gave it, so they gave the GT3s a damn ton of downforce at like medium and high speed, but they took a little bit of grip away at the low speed corners.
Yeah.
But what it meant is GT3s now have ungodly grip through certain corners. Is it Flugplatz at the Nordschleife? I'm terrible with names at the Nordschleife, so I'm probably
Yeah,
butchered that.
Flugplatz is a corner where you shouldn't really be taking it flat with a GT3
Yeah.
car.
And it's now completely flat. And before,
Easily
you'd
flat.
have to downshift into it, and it was like really like you were pushing the car on the edge through that
It depends
corner.
on the car in terms of the downshift, but it you had to lift. And
Yeah.
even if one lap out of the stint you could take it flat, it was very difficult and you had to get it just right. Now it's easy flat and you're carrying 10k, 15k more, and the car doesn't even feel it. Like you're almost over rotating into the corner. There's so much downforce.
It is insane, like how much faster those cars are than they were previously. I mean, looking at the quali laps alone that people were able to set for the N24 versus real life, I'm probably completely wrong on this because someone told me this. But if I remember correctly, the lap record in the GT3 is like an 802 or something like that. In a standard GT3, the quali lap that Josh Rogers, yeah, Coanda, Josh Rogers, whatever you think of him, blah blah blah. He did like a 742.
Yeah.
If I remember correctly. That's insane. Like
I did a 47, so it's not like you need to be that good to get there, like to beat the real life world record. That's how overpowered the car is.
Yeah, but with it, like, how do you get? I'm trying to say this politely because it's iRacing, and it's my sim. It's where I like to play. But to the developers at iRacing, what did you do? What did you do? Like, how did you do?
How did you think that was a good idea? How was you like? Did anyone drive it and was like, "Yep, this seems reasonable. I can take 15k into every high speed corner, not 15, sometimes 20 or 30k more into any high speed corner." It's insane how much faster it's become, especially with the BMW and the Porsche right now. They're just fucking dominating.
Yeah,
It's
they're really quick.
unbelievable.
Have you seen the world records as well? Like pretty much every world record's been dropped by like a second or more.
Yep, easy.
Like
easy.
it's
I
insane.
broke all my
across the
records
board.
for like a second.
Yeah,
On the
I
Nordschleife,
think
I must have taken out 5 seconds because of all the high speed corners, maybe even more.
See, my conspiracy theory here, and I'm going to put a tinfoil hat on for 2 seconds.
Yeah. Go on.
Is iRacing like kind of like trying it as like a tester for if people would like an LMP3? Because like that's kind of what they've done with the GT3s now, and they're like, if people really
Tell you
like
what I
new
really think it
GT3s,
is. I
Go on.
don't see it, but what you said, but I think it's about a new tire model coming out for rain, and it's gonna be big,
Okay,
and nobody gives a shit about the current tire model because everything's about to change. Let's have some
yeah.
fun with it because the car's gonna change a lot soon.
Oh, I can't wait for rain.
Yeah.
I'm really hoping they do a rain. Like, just to go off topic completely here, but like with rain, I really hope they bring it in like without telling anyone. There's just like
Oh,
it's
that would
not
be
even in the
so
patch
sweet.
notes, and it's just before like Watkins or
Get
something like
scammed
just
into
before,
rain
like,
at the 6
like
hours
just
of
before a big
Watkins.
special event. You imagine you log into the race and you're there like, hang on, why is there more tire options? Like, why now? This doesn't make sense. This is a bit weird. Maybe it's just and then midway through the Watkins Watkins
Yeah.
race, like it just starts pissing it down, and everyone's just losing their minds because of the
Get in the pits,
insanity
get in the
that's now
pits.
going on.
It's so
Like, just
slippery.
everybody's like, "What's going on? Like, what
Death
is this?"
everywhere.
Like, because let's face it, there's a lot of people on iRacing that the moment rain comes out,
Mhm.
then their iRating is going to take a nosedive.
Everybody's, I
Like,
think,
like the
except maybe the
iRating of
pros.
I think some of the pros are going to struggle because they're so
Maybe.
used to the dry. I'm not sure what's going to take a bigger nosedive. Some people's I ratings or the Theranos stock value.
I'm gonna raise my
'Cause
hand and say I've never driven in the wet in a sim.
I've only done
Never.
it once, and it was on ACC at Kyalami, I think.
Hmm.
And I'd never worked out. I was doing the career mode on that
Oh,
sim.
I've done some in ICC, but
yeah.
I wasn't any
The
good.
rain effects on the game are so good.
Mhm.
But it started raining. I couldn't work out how to put wet tires on. So
Right.
I just went out. I came into the pits and put slicks back on, and then immediately spun. Oh, I think I spun on pit exit. It was really bad. But so it's gonna take time to get used to, but just want them to do it right before a special event. I
Yeah.
don't want people to get loads of time to prepare for it. I just want just absolute carnage. Like,
I just want to see the world burn.
yeah,
All right, let's move
something like
on.
that.
We got so much more to talk about today. So basically, our next topic is F1 2022 speculations. And because us two idiots don't really do a lot of F1, we did, in and out a little bit, a few hours here and there, but nothing really so specific. We brought in someone who has a lot more experience than us. His name is Harry Pipes. Yes, that is his real name. We swear to God. So he's gonna help us out, try to figure out what is going to happen with the new release of F1 2022. It's coming out July 1st. So yeah, let's have him over right now. Harry.
All right, so hello. My name's Harry. I'm responsible for this mess. I apologize sincerely in advance. The reason these two know each other is me. I've been around sim racing for about 10 years now or so, and that actually started with the F1 games, which is why I think you brought me in. So I've played probably every F1 game that Codemasters have made, apart from F1 2009 and any 3DS games they made. Which not really
They
my
did
scene.
3DS games?
Yeah, they made a Wii game in 2009, and
Ooh.
F1 2011 got a 3DS port.
Why would you not play the 3DS versions, Harry? I imagine they would be super high quality.
To be fair, it was F1 2011, so it couldn't have been much worse.
Well,
But,
I think on the 3DS it would be a super realistic sim, don't you think?
be in 3D. I mean,
Yeah.
what more could you want?
What more could you ask?
Like
Basically
VR.
VR.
Like,
Yeah.
no 3D, no buy. Clearly. But yeah, so I've played every F1 game from 2010 through to 2021. It's where I started sim racing, doing league racing back in, I think it was F1 2013. Just to make you guys feel really old. That was fun. I must have been like 13 at the time. I
Oof.
was probably really annoying, so apologies to
Calvin
those
probably
people.
already had a kid.
Oh, do you know the
Wait.
worst part is, like, makes me feel really old with all this. My first ever wheel and pedal set, I had the Mad Cats. It was a white and green Mad Cats wheel and pedals,
Oof.
the Xbox 360, and I had it set up on an ironing board in my bedroom.
Let's
Oh,
go.
And
That's
I
how
played
you start.
F1 2010 on the Xbox 360, I believe it was, and I played a lot of that on multiplayer with a friend. It was just a crash fest. It was bad. You couldn't start a race without getting put in a wall. Yeah, sorry, but just yeah, that makes me feel really old.
but yeah, and then sort of played all of them through 14 on 360, everything after that on PC. So yeah, I have some experience with the F1 games, and I have some opinions.
So
Yeah, I guess we're in the EA era now.
yeah, with
That's
EA taking over, it's quite reasonable to think that they'll make the game more accessible, don't you think?
I think they'll make it more profitable. I'm not sure they'll make it more accessible. I
Right.
think the way I see it is the F1 games already were quite good on that front. I think, to be honest, you haven't seen many changes in the F1 games since 2017 because it's been fairly good. I think prior to that, you saw a lot of changes year on year. And I think 2016, 2017 were fairly similar if you ignore like the massive regulation change. But everything after that has been fairly static, fairly similar, adding mechanics like classic cars, things like that. You've not really seen a big shake up of the formula. I think
My worry for the F1 games with EA taking over is to try and get more sales out of it. They're going to try and make it easier for the casual fan, shall we say, to just hop into it and jump in and go fast. And that kind of worries me a little bit because I still want it to be like, I know F1 isn't really a sim as much. Like, also, if you want to try a real sim of an F1 car, the Mercedes on iRacing is really, really good.
or
but-
AC, just do AC. There's like 800
just
F1 cars there.
yeah, or do that.
Well, we've been playing AMS yesterday, and that was a lot of fun with the
Yeah,
open wheelers.
if you can get your gear to work, it is a lot of fun.
The first AMS, after about an hour of tinkering, works really nicely. Just so you know.
But yeah, that's kind of my worry is that they're going to take it away from the sim side in search of more sales. So
Right.
you're going to get like a super arcadey. Like, I know it's a little bit arcadey already, and it is more of a simcade.
Mhm.
Worry they're going to go like well overboard on the arcade route, similar to like they did with Dirt 5.
Yeah.
Versus Dirt Rally. So you had like the more serious Dirt Rally 2 and such, and then you had the Dirt 5, which was like the more arcadey, a bit more fun, and a bit more silly. Kind of why they're going to try and do that with F1.
I had a brief look into this while I was looking at my Steam statistics for something later on, and I had a look at rally games out of curiosity. And Dirt Rally 2 is way more popular than Dirt 5, at least on
Oh
PC.
yeah, 100%.
The way I look at it is if they do make these games more accessible and easier, that's eventually for sim racing a good thing. Like if you look at it in the long run, these games are like a gateway drug. It's like Forza, it's like Gran Turismo. They're not full sim. They're very accessible. You can pick up a pad, a controller. You don't need a wheel. You don't need an expensive entry. You can get the game on sale for 20, 30 bucks and play the hell out of it, do online competition, and if you're really into it, then sure, get yourself a wheel and start moving into PC or sims that are on console.
Honestly, I agree. I think coming from when I started in like 2013, I had a gamepad. I didn't get a wheel until like 2019 or so. So I was doing the F1 games all the way through on a gamepad, and you could be perfectly competitive, and that's like a great entry point. Like, even like 2015, I think I had like the Spa World Record or something on PC on a gamepad, and there's no sim where you could do that. And I think it sort of encourages people to get involved because I think the best thing about the F1 games, there's sort of two things I think are really important, is the F1 experience, like that it feels like F1 fundamentally. Like you've got all the like graphics, you've got that experience. I think that's what people are looking for. And B, you allow that competition in some regard.
Yeah,
like
there's
if you look at
competition
F1
there.
esports,
Yeah,
F1 esports is one of the most competitive things out there.
100%.
Like even including iRacing. the level of competition in that is insane. Like I remember probably about 20. I think it was the first season of F1 Esports. I tried to qualify, and I think I missed the like league level competition by like 3 or 4 places. Now I wouldn't come in the top 1,000 probably, just because
Wow.
the level has increased so much.
Haven't some
Admittedly,
of
it's
the
partly the new physics, but
haven't some of the F1 esports guys started coming over to iRacing? Like,
yeah,
I'm sure I've seen a couple of the guys from the F1 esports side start trying out iRacing a little bit more.
I know Optmare
Um,
has. And like a lot of the guys who are quick in F1 esports are quick elsewhere. Like if you look
well,
at the top
yeah,
guys in F1 esports, they're all over the place now. Like you see guys like James Baldwin or people like that who've gone over to F1 esports from other things and been quick, or you see people like Jano Optmare who's come from F1 esports and gone elsewhere. So it's all transferable skills. It's the same game in terms of like in a competitive sense. You have to figure out the rules, you have to learn the physics, and you have to exploit the physics. Same as
yeah.
iRacing, same as anyone else.
Yeah.
So my only concern, I'm going to apologize in advance to anybody that feels like they may be one of these people. Obviously, on the topic of people coming from like Forza, GT, Formula One, we've all been in lobbies in these games, Forza, F1, GT, and we've all been in races where you haven't made it to T1, and it's more regular than it isn't. And what worries me a little bit about some of these guys is these people, these I don't know how to describe them without being impolite, so they're just gonna remain unnamed. But if they come over to like the real like ACC, AC, iRacing, AMS2 and stuff like that, are they just gonna be those crashy idiots that are ruining your race every time? And that's what really concerns me. Because I played a lot of Forza 7, and a lot of the people on that game, I wouldn't want to see them on a proper sim. I'm sorry, because
So I
still
have some
think some
input
of you-
on this. First of all, coming in from Gran Turismo, specifically Gran Turismo Sport was the last Gran Turismo I really played. I came into AC and into iRacing pretty much the same time, about 3 years ago, and I gotta say the lobbies or the multiplayer of Gran Turismo is relatively clean. It was cleaner than iRacing when I came into iRacing. So on Gran Turismo, I was competing at a pretty high level. I was probably the fastest Gran Turismo player in the Middle East, and I would say top 200 Europe, something like that. So I came in from like really high level lobbies, the people who know what they were doing, and into like a mess because I was getting into rookie MX5s, right? So I think it depends on what level you're competing on. If you're coming in like Harry came in from F1, you came in from Forza. If you had a lobby with just your mates, the good drivers, you would have a fantastic time. But there's plenty of good drivers out there in all those sims that can make the transition just great. There's some who will be crashy no matter what game you give them. It's just you can't filter everyone out. You want everyone to be in the sim you're in, right? Because you want the most amount of support. You want the developer to do well so they can issue more content and have more competition and have a bigger audience for our stupid little podcast. You want everything to grow in your sim, but at the end of the day, if you want that to happen, you need to let everyone through. Like everyone are welcome and grind through it like we did. We were plebs when we came into this. Like I was an idiot. I killed many people until I figured out how not to. I would still occasionally kill people today. And
Oh, I've never had an iRacing accident ever.
I've never had one that's my fault. 100%.
Oh yeah, 100%.
It's never my fault.
I mean, to be fair, you are an LMP2 driver, so I can't say I'm too
you
surprised.
send people to the moon for a living.
but what it is GT3 is just if you're on the apex, that's my apex. It just
Yeah.
It's the
Shots
rules of
fired.
LMP2. If you're in a GT3 and I'm in an LMP2, it's my apex. Like, I don't care if you're on it. Like, it's my Apex. It's,
You're gonna
that's
steal
the
your
rules of
Apex.
LMP2. It's all of the Apexes belong to me,
Yeah.
and that will always be the way. It's the rule of LMP2. But going back to F1, so obviously, Harry, you know a bit about what's going on with F122, like what's kind of been announced and stuff like that. So, what are kind of some of the big changes you're expecting with like EA taking over Codemasters and really kind of like trying to put their way of doing things into the game? What kind of changes and stuff can you see and have been kind of coming up and stuff like that?
So honestly, the way I look at it, the core experience that we would look at, like the racing experience, I don't think is going to change all that much. I think EA would be fairly satisfied with the racing experience as it is. The AI is decent, the racing is okay, the physics are reasonable. I think obviously the physics have to change because new generation of cars, that will happen. But at least as far as I'm concerned, when it comes to the F1 game physics, they're always a bit of a lottery. It's always sort of 2 steps forward, 1 step back, 2 steps back, 1 step forward. You see these nice introductions and then sort of introductions that don't really work. So I wasn't a big fan of F1 2021. I didn't feel the physics worked particularly well. The way that you get on power, basically all the F1 drivers who played it said you need to be playing on TC medium because that's more realistic, for example. Downforce doesn't really exist. They just kind of apply a grip multiplier rather than make downforce. So you get some really weird behavior there. And you can't touch curbs. Curbs have 0 grip. It's like you're driving in the rain. So there are things like that I'm personally not a fan of. But I think EA will say, yeah, we want this, but with the 2022 physics. I think where you'll see the change is the scope of other things. So they'll start introducing new functionality to try and draw people in. I think that's where VR comes in. I don't think VR will be a big like player grab on PC. I mean, obviously there are people who use it VR and who haven't bought an F1 game because of it, who will buy it because of VR. I think that will happen. I think someone like Calvin, you'll be very happy to have that VR implementation.
Yeah, I think VR is kind of important from a sim perspective now, mainly because of the Quest 2. It's introduced so many more people into VR that weren't interested in VR before. So it has really opened the space. So I think almost having VR at this point is becoming a bit of a requirement because it is so big in the sim space, especially on the casual level. It's huge. So I get that. My kind of main concern, I guess, around EA with the F1 license is around the monetization side.
I was just into that. My F1 life, supercars. Oh, there's going to be a microtransaction factor where you can have your own crib.
I would spend £25 to put a beard on Lando Norris.
Do you think Lando can grow a beard?
Well, like, that's what I'm saying. I'll pay that to create my own version of Lando Norris. Version.
I don't know what it says about you, Dori, but I am a touch concerned.
Dori wants to create Lando Norris Homeless Santa edition. That's what he wants to create.
That's my dream.
I just with everything, obviously they're talking about this F1 life, where you can get clothing and supercars and you can drive supercars. Is that as far as it's going to go? Because my thinking here is EA going to go all out and go, do you know what? If you want to race a Mercedes, it's a $10 DLC. And like, don't get me wrong, it's a bit tinfoil hat. Like, a little
EA
bit.
has been struggling with racing games for years. They can never replicate the success they had with the early Need for Speed games. And they've been looking for something to build on because with Criterion, it didn't really help them. So what I think this is trying to figure out if they can adapt this engine and the Codemasters technology, which they sure can, into other categories. Maybe have Cody make the next Need for Speed game. And you know what? I'll be interested in that. I will want to check that out.
So I'm not so fussed about Need for Speed. Like, I honestly, like, the last Need for Speed game I really loved was probably Need for Speed Carbon. Loved that game. It was awesome. What I want to see them bring back is Burnout. Like, just bring back Burnout.
Codemasters
Burnout. I'll rate Burnout higher than any modern Need for Speed. But if you look at what Underground 1 did and Underground 2,
Yeah, those games are amazing.
I
if they
was
can
too-
somehow replicate that sort of success with any new model they come up with, I'll stand behind it because I want a fun racing game. I just want a silly, fun racing game. Just
I don't really
Yeah.
have that attachment to Need for Speed, honestly, because when I grew up, it was Need for Speed The Run.
Oh
Rather
no,
than Need
you
for
grew up
Speed
into
Carbon.
shit
Oh,
Need for
no.
Speed era. No, no, no,
Yeah,
Oh
like,
no!
We're not
The
talking
only one I
about
played that
that.
was any good was Most Wanted.
Even though I
back in the day.
finished Need for Speed the Run, it was a fun game.
I never
Like
even
10
played
minutes,
it.
though.
It's very short. It was like 8 hours.
Yeah,
You
it took me
finish it.
4.
Oh,
Really?
there were so many
Well, I
bad
had to
ones. They
retry
just
stuff.
that went downhill so fast. Like from the early days of like epic Need for Speed games, because you had the original Most Wanted, you had Carbon, you had the Underground games. They were so good. Like they were
Yeah.
like staples of like
Most
me and
Wanted was
Dori, a
amazing.
fairly similar age. They were kind of staples of our childhood. Like
Yeah.
I remember, like me and a friend would play Underground and Underground 2 non-stop. Like we just played the career modes non-stop because it was awesome. They were
Mhm.
incredible games. And then they just took a nosedive. And to be fair, if Cody could do something with those titles and bring like a cool spin on Need for Speed, it would be interesting. But what, like, again, really want just remake Burnout Takedown, but really cool. Like just remake the original Burnout 3 Takedown because that game was incredible. Like if they could do that, like yeah, that's me done. Like
Tell me you
you
can die
won't
a
see me for a
happy
couple of
man.
months. Yeah, something like that. It would be a good time. But getting back to F1, so do you think the Horizon Life? I'm going well off topic there.
Jesus Christ.
Do you think the F1 life will be as far as the monetization side goes, or do you think there'll be more stuff on that side of things?
I don't know if you're familiar with how F1 is monetized currently.
Mhm.
Not
So
massively.
they have a
Can
thing
bring
called like
up-
the pit lane pass. So you know season passes in like shooters and Fortnite
Yeah.
and that.
Yeah.
They have a system like that where they add a bunch of guff that I don't really care about. So
Like what?
emotes on the podium, so you can do your little dance and it's all Fortnite style or skins for your My Career car or your online. That's really as far as it goes at the moment. Other than your like pre-order classic car DLC that they used to do and aren't doing anymore. Because the problem with classic cars is they lose the licenses. Like you can't buy F1 2013 anymore. And I believe one of the current ones, I think like 2019 or one of those got taken down recently for sale. Because the classic car licenses have expired. So I think they're quite gun shy on continuing that because I doubt that many people played it anyway. Because it's like a neat novelty for like a couple of laps. Oh, I can drive one of Senna's McLarens. Oh, fantastic! And you go, oh, I'll go back to the F1. It's like Formula 2. Like everyone's like, oh, I really want Formula 2, and then they add Formula 2, and nobody plays Formula 2.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
like this is the thing. I think they'll try and add things that they think they can make money from like the whales, the people who are going to put thousands of pounds into F1 emotes or whatever. I think that's where the scope grows. I think they'll test the water. They'll see with this F1 life what they can get away with, what we can do. The only thing I'm sort of curious to see is, do we get an F1 Ultimate Team? Do we get something
How
of
would
that nature?
F1 Ultimate
how would they
Team.
do that?
That's
Like an
the
F1
thing.
Ultimate Team?
This is what I was thinking. Like, is there a way you can do that very well?
Like Motorsport Manager inside F1.
But you've already got F1 Manager coming.
Yeah. I
F1
think if you were going to
Manager
Well,
do
maybe that's their implementation of Ultimate Team. Is it?
No, I think if they were going to do an F1 Ultimate Team, your card pack, similar to like FIFA, would be like engine components.
Yeah,
So
makes
like
sense.
you would get like an F1 car, but like you can get packs that would give you like
And drivers and
upgrade
like this is
mechanics,
the
Yeah.
and crew chiefs.
MP4/4 engine.
Yeah.
And it's Platinum whatever racing. I know nothing about Ultimate Team.
At the end of the day,
Yeah.
it is what it is. Like they're trying to make money out of it. As long as they provide a good experience for the people who love F1 games,
As long as
that's
they
what's
don't
important.
detract from the experience that they have currently with the monetization. Like
Yeah.
all the pit pass stuff kind of sucks. Like it's dumb in my opinion, but
Mhm.
it wouldn't affect my ability to enjoy an F1 game.
Yeah, yeah. So as
If
long as
they
it
turn
doesn't
around and said,
intrude and people want to spend $1 billion on emotes, that's up to them.
it's, as long as they don't go like into career mode and be like, nice engine upgrade there. Shame if something were to happen to it. Here's my PayPal account. Go
Can,
nuts.
Yeah.
can we just realize though how low we set the bar for EA, how little we actually expect from them? Because this is a brand new game in the year 2022. This is one of the biggest, if not the biggest, publisher in the world, and we're expecting them just to not completely fuck up a game who, in my opinion, is already pretty average. So we're hoping for them not to ruin a game that is probably not the best out there. It's good because of the F1 branding, so it gets a lot of sales. But as a sim racing game or an arcade game, it has faults in both categories. So however you look at it, instead of hoping for them to improve on it and bring all that money and experience in and make a much better title, all we're really praying for is just don't completely ruin sim racing or arcade racing or simcade racing, whatever you want to call it. It's kind of funny. Just as an anecdote to transition to the next subject. I wonder what people in our audience think about that. But yeah, in the meantime, if you enjoy any of this, as well as people who are watching, then leave a like, subscribe, let us know in the comments what you think. We are going to start talking about our third topic today, which is Motorsport Games.
So now we're going to talk about Motorsport Games. Yay, fantastic, a lot of fun. It's currently, I guess, the biggest story in sim racing at the moment. So there's been a lot of videos from Austin Ogonovsky in the past, who's sort of been the main sort of driving force behind this sort of unfolding controversy, issue, story, however you wish to call it. But it's sort of blown up in the last couple of days with everything that Ermin's done. So Ermin Hamidovic, Ermin Hand Sandwich, however you wish to refer to him. And this issue has sort of really come to light. So I guess we should probably introduce who Motorsport Games are. The Motorsport Games was founded in 2018, I believe, by the Motorsport Group. At the moment, probably what they're most famous for is NASCAR 21 Ignition, which they probably wish wasn't the case, but is what it is. And they
It
own a
was such a
wide...
great game. What are you talking about?
Yeah,
I enjoyed that.
NASCAR Ignition was an epic sim racing title for the NASCAR fans.
All 13 people playing it would love to agree with you, I think.
Yeah.
Is it really
it
the
really-
number?
It's 13, yeah. It's less
That's
than NASCAR Heat
that's
5
really
and
sad.
NASCAR Heat 4.
Oh,
Which the
that
community doesn't particularly like either. It's
that
hard
I
to play on average more than NASCAR 15.
Oh
I
my God.
remember when the beta got released for NASCAR Ignition, and there was all those YouTubers that got like early access to it, and they were just memeing on how bad that game, like just the bugs in it were horrific.
Yeah.
Like I know sometimes we've moaned about some silly things on iRacing. Like I know one of my good friends, Andy Fox, he complained to iRacing non-stop about if you have a wheel-to-wheel touch in the VW Jetta at one point, one of those cars was getting fired to the moon, like just launched, right? And we've moaned about silly things like this, and a lot of people have moaned about silly things like this on iRacing. But NASCAR Ignition just walked up to iRacing and gave them their beer and said, "Hold this for a sec. I'm going to do something crazy." Like, and they went all out on that, like, and released it to YouTubers thinking that was going to go well. Like, oh my god!
Yeah,
Like,
'cause I
It
remember
was
seeing,
ambitious. It
I
was
remember
ambitious.
seeing all the previews at the time, and you've got all these NASCAR YouTubers who are like, "Oh, it looks amazing! It's going to be awesome!" And then they went, "Oh, it's got the R Factor 2 physics engine. That's going to be amazing." Then I looked at it. They've got the NASCAR, or they got the R Factor 2 physics engine, and they've got the R Factor 2 AI. Oh boy, this could be good.
it was. I think I remember watching a video of like just the AI. There was a crash, and then all of the AI behind. It was like they ignored that there was a crash, and there was just this huge entire grid pileup at
Oh,
turn
no.
one.
It was
And it was just all the cars behind just firing themselves into the crash at full speed.
It was pickup cup at Talladega, is what it was.
Oh,
Like literally, people just going, "I don't need to live anymore. I'm just full sending it, just in the vague hope I make it
it was
through."
bad. It was bad.
But yeah, so basically, they sort of came out with this game. Sort of, it was supposed to be the savior for NASCAR games. Basically, there'd been the NASCAR Heat series before that, which had been taken over by Motorsport Games. But it wasn't great. It was built in the Unity engine. The development team was very small. It never really picked up traction. It was never particularly popular. It didn't help the NASCAR Heat Evolution before NASCAR Ignition was the worst NASCAR game ever made, which was the first NASCAR Heat. So it never really got off the ground, so they sold it on to Motorsport Games. Motorsport Games coming in with all this money, all these promises, they've got all these licenses, and it never really came to fruition.
So let's try to be productive. Let's try to suggest solutions. Calvin, what do you think Motorsport Games should? What's their next step? What should they do to earn people's trust?
What with NASCAR?
With NASCAR or whatever project they have planned right now? Because what else are they doing?
I don't know if they can at this point. So just very quickly on what Harry was saying about NASCAR Ignition, I have a few friends that work for Motorsport Games. A few people I know, I've known for a few years, and I heard that their Motorsport Games hadn't really been checking up on the situation with the development team, and they only really saw it literally just before release. And supposedly they immediately looked at them like, "Oh no, like this is not good." So, and they had no other choice.
Yeah, but that's still negligence because you look at it, your name is behind that project. How can you sign off on it only at such a late stage? Like you're already committed to a release date. You're not gonna check up on the product. You're not gonna see that it's coming through like you want it, like your vision is. Because I'm sure their vision was fantastic. These are experienced guys who know their racing, right? But where was the checkup? Where was the follow through? Because when you issue orders to development, when you issue tasks to R&D or whatever company you're working with, you're gonna need to check up frequently on a weekly or sometimes daily basis. So just looking at the product as a whole, a minute before release, after committing to deadlines, is like that's on Motorsport Games. That's not on whatever third-party developer they've hired.
Yeah, it's rough. But going back to your original question, what would I do if I wanted to restore trust?
Yeah.
Firstly, can you release the license for Le Mans so that people can do a Le Mans 24-hour when they're not on a Motorsport Games platform? That'd be great. I'd certainly like you a bit more.
Can't argue with that. Even though financially it doesn't make sense for them, but
I get it. I get why they've gone for the license. It just, I know a lot of people in sim racing don't like Motorsport Games because of what they did with Le Mans, and it's upset a lot of people. And the Le Mans esports thing, it's had some issues.
And it's very exclusive as well. Like that's the fantastic thing about iRacing, and I use IMSA as like the case study for this. Like if you're a series, where are you going to get exposure? Like, let's be honest here. A lot of people watch Le Mans Virtual, right? Le Mans Virtual is the biggest sim racing event we've ever had, especially the one during the first one during the pandemic that replaced Le Mans. I think the hype around that as a sim racing event was insane. But the problem you have is you can't access that. It's inaccessible. Like, how many people are going to get the chance to compete in Le Mans Virtual?
Yeah, that's the issue, is that it has become such a, like, I get it as a sim racing event for publicity, and like the stream for the latest virtual Le Mans race, where Max Verstappen had an incident, shall we say? He had an oopsie. It was not his finest moment.
He went underneath the ground.
that video has been shared everywhere. Like that, like around virtual Le Mans, you couldn't get away from that video. Like it was everywhere on my Facebook and on Twitter, everything.
They got both Max Verstappen and Jimmy Broadbent. It's literally the holy trinity of exposure for a sim racing.
But it went, like, the exposure was really, really good. But when you actually look into like some of the stuff that was happening, it really wasn't that great. Like there was people that got cut out from the race on the outlap. So the pace lap for the race, there were people that got disconnected from the server. R-Factor 2 doesn't allow you to reconnect to the race once you've disconnected. And there were people that literally, they'd practiced hours and hours and hours and hours and hours, and they had a random disconnection on the pace lap. That's it. The race over. They can't restart and go from the pits as if it was like a real life failure or anything like that. That's it. The race was over. Like they just that's it's your virtual Le Mans done.
The problem not being Max Verstappen.
Yeah. But that's one of the problems with R Factor and virtual Le Mans like kind of really showed it off. And I'm gutted that, you know, specifically to iRacing, we can't have the Le Mans 24 officially anymore. It has to be done by like a third party, like Majors 24 last year, like you were referring to.
But if you look at it from a broader scope, wouldn't you rather iRacing have competition and have like the other sims have their advantages, and you want them to keep their advantages at least so iRacing will have something to aspire for?
I'd rather them have competent competition.
Well, you know, if we don't, they're trying. I'm sure they are. They're making mistakes, but they're trying. We need to, because the community is so small. We need to somehow find a way to support them. But they need to make the right decision, the right business decision.
We need to support the good decisions without letting them sort of collapse.
Yeah.
Because the worry with Motorsport Games is how do they last long term? I know there were reports that they only had enough money for the next 12 months. Now
that's usually pretty common for a startup. It's nothing to run around with your pants on fire on.
But
yeah,
they have no NASCAR game this year. They don't have any games coming out this year because BTCC's been delayed as well.
Right.
All they have is RF2, and RF2 I think is a really interesting question. Like, what do you do with R Factor 2?
You build the whole new interface and then rework the netcode?
Yeah.
Well, they've redone the UI.
It's not.
They redid the UI fairly recently. I know a couple of people were saying it was really good. And obviously, their big push on RF2 is the competition system. They're trying to replicate the iRacing competition system. Yeah, they redone it again. But yeah, like the problem with RF2 and going on like the whole licenses front, like I have no problem with competition, and like the problem with iRacing is because they are so big, they can get away with being fairly lazy. The problem I have with this whole thing with Motorsport Games as a whole is they're just taking away licenses, so it makes a lot of stuff inaccessible. So like they've got WEC, well, no, ACC more has that side of things, but they've got BTCC. I'm sure with NASCAR, if it went well, they were going to try and push to get more exclusivity with the NASCAR side of things. They've obviously got Le Mans. I've heard rumors from people I know that they are currently trying to get the Daytona 24 as an exclusive Motorsport Games asset. And it's stuff like that like I'm all good for competition.
To be fair, iRacing has all the facility, because I think your problem really is with iRacing, not with Motorsport Games. Because iRacing has all the facilities to get the licenses for these series. They don't. So other people do. Because if iRacing wanted to, they have way more money, way more connections, and they can actually get the...
Not than the Motorsport Network.
You think?
Because we're not just talking Motorsport Games.
Yeah,
we're
there's a
talking
lot.
Motorsport Network.
Right.
I remember you've got people like Zach Brown who are involved in this, throwing a lot of money around. Like, for example, look at something like Traction.gg, right? It's a Motorsport Games property. And you look at the viewing numbers on that and the production value that's going in, I'm sure you could say that that probably doesn't look very profitable to you.
No.
As someone who's involved in the YouTube
that is hemorrhaging money.
And you can see that these people just have money to burn. They're just throwing money at the problem in the hope that eventually they can make it work and make it take off.
Yeah.
And the problem with this is like, take something like the WEC license. Outside of Le Mans Virtual, what have they done with it? Like, if I was Motorsport Games right now, I'd go to the R Factor 2 development team over at Studio 397. I'd say this probably isn't working. We're sort of spinning our wheels a bit here with R Factor 2. Let's start fresh and make a WEC game and have that be your focus.
Right.
Let's put everything behind that and make an ACC for WEC. Make an equivalent experience and focus on that. Because the problem that R Factor 2 has is it's trying to do everything and doing relatively little. Like, oh, we've got a new UI, great. When are you going to fix the physics model?
I guess though, my kind of thing on it is it's all well and good taking these licenses away that stop sim racers using these titles, so like Le Mans and stuff like that.
Yeah.
The problem is when you look at the player numbers. So we looked last night just for a laugh, to have a look at the RF2 numbers. And according to Steam, there were 400 and something people playing R Factor 2, as opposed to around 10,000 on iRacing. You're taking away from the broader scope of sim racing to just have an exclusivity. So you're not really competing with anything because your player numbers are still nothing in the great scheme of things.
But you can't say they're not trying. They're not trying.
You can say they're trying.
They're trying and learning. They're throwing a lot of money around to try to fix this problem. We can disagree on their method because we'll obviously look at it differently from guys who's been on the consumer end for so many years. So the only thing we can do is rant about it. But at least, you know what? We got to give them credit for trying to bring some competition into this very, one-sided field. They need to exist. They need to take licenses, and they need to do something cool with them. The something cool is the problem right now. But if they have the funds, if they know how to, I don't know, at least learn from their mistakes, they might actually do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I see at the moment is it's acquire a bunch of development studios, acquire a bunch of licenses, question mark, profit. Like that's the way I look at it. Not.
It's not
don't see them
really
coming
doing
in with,
a lot.
a vision of like, oh, we're gonna make a WEC game that's got like based on the RFX2 engine. It's gonna be awesome. They're like, oh, we're gonna make a BTCC game at some point. We're gonna make an IndyCar game at some point. We've added these cars to RF2. Like that's not exciting. That's not driving people to go, yes, motorsport games are really a force for good, and they're going to really contribute something to the industry.
I agree, and I think your solution, what you've suggested, is having a clean slate, taking the technology that they have and using it to build something from scratch, and really focus on one or two disciplines in motorsport rather than 30 or 40 or 50. And maybe let the community mod into that as well to create that extra content without them having to do the man hours, because RF2 is really good with modding. So they can just focus on having one good physics model for one specific car, a GT3 car, for example, stick to that and maybe try to work ways that competitive multiplayer will be a thing. Because I think, considering the numbers, competitive multiplayer is where you want to be, because ACC took some steps towards it and it's done a lot of good for them, and obviously iRacing is the one carrying the flag on that regard, and that's why it's so damn popular. It's not because it's the best driving experience, because we drove AMS yesterday, the first Automobilista game based on R Factor 1. Sorry, iRacing fans, I love iRacing myself. AMS 1 is a better driving experience, hands down. Like, it is more fun, more engaging, better force feedback, better tire model, better physics model. Everything works better. It just looks a little ugly, but I bet there's mods. Other than but as a racing experience, it's rubbish, right? So any franchise, any organization that's trying to bridge that gap, I'll respect and support. So if that's your suggestion, Harry, of taking that direction, if they'll come out with a statement they're doing that, I'll shill in 20, 50, 100 for a pre-order. If they're taking that direction, saying, look, we're just taking RF2 and focusing on one discipline, I think they have a real shot with this.
It's conditioning. It's saying, well done, good behavior. Keep this up.
Yes, 100%. It's like with Project Cars 1. Do you guys remember? I think, Harry, you were too young.
Yeah, I remember that.
No, I just about remember P-Cars 1.
I was an early backer of Project Car 1. I had it on early access for a good while before it came out, because it was a community-driven game at first. A lot of people don't remember that. People went on the forums and actually suggested new cars, new tracks, new models. They've modded the game and suggested it to the developers, and developers turned it into something that is internal to the game. It was a very interactive experience, and that was really cool. Turned out to be a shit game, but I don't want to talk about it.
But then it had something. It got somewhere. Like,
it was about to be disruptive. It was disruptive at first. After that, it was very generic. I think too many cooks was the problem.
So to argue your point, on the licenses side of things and everything else with supporting motorsport games and what they're doing. And I'll go back to your Project Cars 1 point. Project Cars 3 got made.
Look,
Like that exists. Like the Project Cars 3
I'm not a
is
Project
a game
Cars
that
fan.
exists.
I was never, even 2 that was supposedly the best. I wasn't a big fan of. I wasn't a fan of it all. In fact, not that it didn't have its merits. It did. It had a lot of good things going for it. I just had better alternatives, in my opinion. But I'm not trying to defend Project Cars. I'm just saying at least it was disruptive at first. At least it was interesting. It gave us quote unquote hope that things might turn for the better. The sim racing world is going to expand and turn in reach new heights. Whatever the fuck. Just sell me a dream, Motorsport Games. That's what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
And on that note, I think we can move on to our next subject, boys, because we've been going on about this for a while. The next segment is called Dented Doors, and thank you for suggesting that in the comments on YouTube. All right, so this one is by Marek Ortlovs. He's from my Discord, F3 at Imola. Let's see what happened there.
Oh, big
lot of
itself,
weaving.
man.
Big Wreck.
Oh, gee.
Big Wreck.
Oh,
he
no.
survived
Made
it.
it, he's made
Good
it,
job.
he's
Good job.
made it.
No! Death.
Honestly, we need to see the first incident first.
Yeah,
Like, what was
yeah.
that?
Yeah, can we go back and see how that started? Like that's just chaos.
It's just gonna be people weaving about, I reckon.
I
Oh,
think it
with
was
four
right
wide.
around here, wasn't it? Oh, this guy just stopped.
What
Oh,
are you
what?
doing? No.
What happened to this guy?
Did he just lose his back end? How? Like, because he didn't launch till really late. Like, looking at that.
Oh, just wheel spin. Look at the temperature. The tires. The temperatures on his tires.
Right, so
must have
he's
been
launched really badly.
really
He's
bad.
not really, and then he's just.
Oh, just collected everyone.
What did he do?
And he's not holding the brakes either. Just rolling casually.
Oh, look at the way his like that car is broken. Look at the
That is
crab.
So
The
sad.
crabbing on that. That car's broken. Just
Oh.
don't why. Just put it in the pits. Like just hold escape. Like your car's
Honestly,
done.
that was so bad.
Yeah, he's
How
like,
many
I've still got a chance.
cars
I've
get
still
wrecked
got
from
this.
this? All right, so this one is from Andy. He says it's his first and only win in Dirt Oval. Let's see what happened here. So this is the last lap. They're in a fight for a lead. The orange and the green car.
What's
The
this
green
guy?
car
Oh,
Oh,
barely
yeah, it's
saves it. That
Roger's
guy is going the wrong way. I don't know what's going on.
Oh, dive bump, slide job.
oh, he's gone.
Okay,
He's gone.
so-
You are not saving that.
What do you reckon?
Number
This
three's
guy will
gone.
spin out?
Yeah, number 3
Yeah.
spinning out 100%.
and he's gonna get hit. He's gonna get hit.
Oh
Oh,
no!
He's in the pits. He's getting pitted.
Oh no! This is the last lap. Oh my god! So he just lost the race by a love tap or
He
love
got
tap.
pit
But the-
maneuvered.
But the thing is, he had lost it anyway. Like realistically, this guy, like he just well overcooked that.
Well,
Look
he
at
could
the
have saved
angle on
it.
that.
I think he could have saved it.
I don't think you're saving that.
I
think-
don't.
He
think
would
you're
have
saving
lost a
that.
position or a few positions, but he would have saved it.
In the street stock, you can't get a lot of slip on dirt, so that's
I
too
think,
much.
yeah. You look at the angle on that. That's insane angle. I mean,
But that
that's
love
like,
tap was just perfect. Look at that. Just
see
see ya.
Beautiful. That was a
For the
beautiful.
win.
I mean, is that the perfect explanation of a pit maneuver?
I
That's-
think,
yeah.
I think it
Like,
is.
because not only did he pit maneuver him, he put him in the pits. Like, it's literally perfect.
No pun intended. No pit intended.
I think that guy was losing it anyway. I think that's one because you're on dirt. Like, it's not like you can slow down that much. But you look at the difference in angles that Foxy's going into the corners at.
Yeah.
Like, it's a steady progression. Whereas that number 3 car, like the back end just went into the corner.
Yeah.
It really fired the back end out. Like,
And
look
you
there,
don't
like
have the power
it's
to
so
save-
far out at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no way you're saving that. And then he,
Well, to be fair, Andy did try to kind of relax on throttle and let him through.
Yeah.
But yeah, that love tap was perfect.
I can say quite honestly, I wouldn't have done that. I'd have just kept my foot on the throttle. I'd have just put
Kill
that.
him.
I would have cannoned that
It's
guy.
dirt oval. It's pretty legal to do that. It's not
I-
like
I-
road racing. It's
Oh, I got loose. What a shame.
yeah.
I'd have been playing snooker and I'd have potted the black into the pits.
Yeah.
Oof.
Like that's
That sounds
100% would have been mine. They're not what
All right, moving on to the next subject.
Podcast getting cancelled.
So this one is from Steven. He said Santiago keeps making hopeless moves and it ends badly. Let's see what's going on around here.
Am I wrong, or is that BMW's rear bumper a bit bent already?
Maybe.
Oh, that's aggressive.
It's not bad. That's good racing.
Oh, that's okay.
Wide track.
It's
You can make
aggressive
it for that.
though, going for the move. Steven saw it, and that's the smart thing a lot of people don't really pay attention to. Is if you see someone going for a dive, you watch Steven immediately just stay out.
Opens the
He
door.
just stays out of trouble.
But,
just-
but if it was me, like I would have initially would have covered the inside here. Just let him know well in advance that he's got no win. Right?
Yeah. The problem you get with a lot of people is in Steven's situation, they would still try and turn the apex thing. That's my apex. There's so many people like that that get into these crashes that it might necessarily not be their fault,
Yeah.
but like it's your race is over because you've been T-boned.
What,
You need to
where
be smarter.
Steven was on the track at this moment, like right here, keeping the door open was the right move, 100%. Like he needed to commit to the inside line for like this point onwards to be able to protect it, because otherwise he just left that door open and he would have changed direction too late. The BMW would have taken advantage. He opened the door. All right, that's the first. I wouldn't call it incident. That's the first time they started going at it. There's 2 more of these. Let's see what happened. So this is a little later on in the race. This is their second contact, or whatever it was. Okay, so he's sending it. That's a big send.
That's a rough one.
massive
That
That cost him way more than he could have gained.
Yeah, again, he's seen him come across and gone, here's my chance. Good to see it.
I don't like Luke just like it's his right to move late, but it's not the smartest thing.
I think this guy's a back marker as well.
Oh, maybe.
Look at
He's
go on
16th.
Steven. Yeah, he's kind of.
Oh no,
no,
Steven's
maybe
15th.
not.
And this guy is 17th. So
I mean, that's a big send, and it's so telegraphed as well.
yeah.
Like it's so like if that car number 4 just wanted to like just come across just before he braked, he just messed all of that up.
Yeah. He
Mm.
could
I
have
mean, the
taken
problem is
this
if you're
guy out.
Steven
I
right
think he
now, you're,
Did he touch this guy?
if he didn't,
I
it was close. I don't think he did, but it was close, wasn't it?
See. It's definitely close. No. Didn't touch
Closer
Nah,
him.
he
than it
didn't touch
should
him.
be, for sure.
Yeah.
It's just it's one of those sends that you just like, why? Like, what was the need? Because you've just cost both of them time. I mean, to be fair, the car behind didn't
Cost
really lose any
himself, cost
time.
everyone time.
Yeah,
And it's not like
it's
it's and it's not like it's you're at like Brands Hatch or Alton Park or somewhere. It's genuinely different parts. And you've got to take those shots. I think
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
this is Interlagos. You're going to have another shot at it. It's a draft.
Yeah.
yeah.
There's like 5-6 different overtaking opportunities on this track. It's not a difficult track to overtake on. It's so damn wide. There's a lot of big braking points. There's a lot of long corners where you can just try to sneak on the inside and gain a lot of time by getting a shorter distance in the corner.
He
So-
would have been better following through the corner and then trying to get the run on the exit, and
Yeah.
then try and get up the inside in the straight up towards the next corner.
100%.
Yeah, it would have been so much easier than just going for a late
thing
dive
is,
bomb.
Even if he gets by, you
Look
know
at the
what's going to happen.
distance. Look at the
Mm.
distance here. Like, this is a big distance to cover just by outbraking someone, even though you're carrying more speed than he is.
Yeah. Thing is, even if he makes it, he's just going to get taken back into turn 3, like you saw with Verstappen
Yeah.
and Leclerc in Bahrain.
To be fair,
Yeah.
I don't mind him sending it on this guy because, like the first Aston, because he was carrying significantly less speed. Like, it's almost inevitable. But if Santiago braked a bit earlier, then he would have squeezed nicely between them. Would have been a great move. But
Yeah.
that was a bit ambitious. All right, this is the third and final incident of this saga. So let's see what happened.
Well, they're already in a train.
They're
you're
all
gonna
bunched
have all
up
the
nicely.
accordion.
Good move by Santiago. He took advantage. So far, so good.
Oh,
And that
no.
is a late break.
Oh, that's
Okay.
rough.
Okay, took advantage. Oh, no.
Oh, that's
You've
rough.
got to leave room on the exit there.
I tell you what. I don't think Santiago did a lot wrong here. He's aggressive. He's aggressive, but look, I got the door open. I know it's gonna be open because I followed Steven on the earlier lap, and I know he keeps the door open here. I went for it. It's ambitious, but I didn't get stuck into the Porsche in front of me. And I'm leaving room on the outside. I think Steven might have turned into him a little bit. Look at his wheel input.
Yeah, this is true. This is true.
To be fair, Steven's our friend, so sorry, Steven. Didn't mean to make you look like a dickhead. But going into it, like, I don't know.
Oh no, he loses it.
He loses the back
think it
end.
does,
Back end
yeah.
goes. That's the back end stepping.
Because he's going wide, which is a natural line. He could have stayed a little more on the inside. The BMW could have been a little more courteous.
I think it's hard though when you've already sent it in that deep.
Yeah.
I don't think you can really get back to the
Yeah.
inside like that.
But there's apparent room. Like Steven could have gone wider. I think he just lost right there.
Yeah, it looks
That's a
like
lot
the
of
back end
steering
step when he
input.
tried to get onto the
Well, that is the largest net code I've
That
seen
is
in
a
a while.
lot of steering input. Look at that. And then the rear snaps.
Yeah.
No, that's net code. That's
That's
net
net
code.
code?
Yeah, watch it again, like in slow motion. Play it in slow motion. You'll see it snaps really strangely. Yeah.
I
No, I don't think that's netcode. I think that's the back end
that's net
stepping.
code. Look at the steering input.
Yeah, that's a lot of
A
angle.
lot of angle, a lot of throttle, and then he straightens out in one go because
Oh,
the
no,
rear
yeah.
snaps.
No,
I
you
mean,
just want
I
to-
will say, if you look at where the BMW, but go before the corner and just look on this view, where Steven's going towards the corner and where this BMW comes in, like because it's pretty aggressive. No, go on board with Steven. Like you see, Steven's already getting prepared to turn in here. I think he's trying to get a shallower run so he can get a nice run on the exit. So he's already turning in. He's already started turning in, and then he sees the BMW. Like that's
and that just unsettles you on entry.
I think that from this point on, let's say from this point on, he knew the BMW was getting there. Because I think he straightens out the wheel here. Let's see.
Yeah, he turns out of it.
Turns out of it for a second because he's turning in. He sees the BMW. I think trying to avoid going in too early. Then.
Yeah, you see shallows out there.
But honestly, looking at it, like if everybody's trying to grow and if everybody's trying to learn, if I was Steven, like knowing this guy has a tendency to go down the inside here, no way would I have left that door open and kept it open for so late into the corner. And on the other hand, Santiago, calm your fucking pants. Everybody's in a group. Nobody's going anywhere. You don't have to send it on each and every lap. Like, don't go insane. Like, honestly,
Yeah, that's just an accident waiting to happen.
yeah, you're
Somebody's
just asking
gonna turn
for it, and I think he got screwed out of it as well. It's not like, yeah, I mean, he's definitely got some damage.
It's a
He's lost
rough
some
send though.
positions.
Like,
Oh yeah,
it's
for sure.
it's a rough send, and the thing is, like looking at his, like he's one of those guys that the moment you see him behind you, you know you're getting sent on. Like
Yeah.
you know it's coming.
Yeah,
And it's just they're so frustrating to race against because you know even if they're 5 car lengths behind, you've got to defend going into a corner.
yeah.
And it's
not
so frustrating. Yeah, it does kind of kill the fun a little bit. And the thing is as well, most of the time those guys, the incidents like this happen because even if you are fine, you've pissed off the guy you've just dived on.
Yeah.
And the next corner, they're either going to do it back
Next
to
corner,
you.
next race, next week, they're gonna remember that.
And
That's gonna
even if
come
they
back to
don't dive
bite
on
in
you,
the ass.
they're going to follow you into a corner and they're going to break a little bit later than you do. So you're
Yeah.
not.
And I
making
can't
the
blame
apex.
them. Can you blame them? If someone's
No.
being a dick to you a whole race, can you blame just putting that in the back of your head? Like, next time I see this guy, maybe I give him a little love tap. Maybe I make it a little more dangerous for him than it probably should be.
If this Santiago was diving on me, I can guarantee you the next straight, as soon as we come into a corner, he's gonna find it interesting. I'm not gonna bump him off the track, but I'm gonna squeeze him, and I'm gonna make it uncomfortable.
So
You
considering
get raced how you race other people for the most
Yeah.
part.
considering I already know how this guy drives, I would have been more aggressive earlier on in the race and let him know, look, I'm not going to take your shit. Maybe other people will. I won't. I'll put you in uncomfortable positions myself if you keep driving like that. And maybe try to outpace him. Because usually when someone's this aggressive, it's I'm not trying to generalize here. Maybe I'm wrong. But a lot of times it's lack of confidence where they don't feel up to pace. So they just want to move up more and more positions. So they'll have They'll minimize the potential gap that they have, and maybe utilize more mistakes rather than outpacing people. So they just take advantage of every opportunity,
and also lack of control.
Yeah,
like they don't know their limits as much. They just send it because it looks vaguely reasonable, and then they get lucky, or they don't get lucky, like in this case.
It's just, yeah, it's a bit of a. I mean, ultimately, the incidents on Stephen, like, it is as rough as it is to say, because Stephen is a good friend. It's Stephen's incident. He lost the back end a little bit. I mean, the thing is, if he would have flowed out to the outside, he'd have probably held the position.
he would have
and
had a
forced
better
Santiago.
Honestly,
Yeah.
I'll put it this way. I think in the heat of the moment, Steven gets distracted, and that causes him to make the mistake because that guy made a silly lunge.
Yeah.
And ultimately, I think if you put yourself in these positions, people will screw up because you're creating finer margins and you'll have accidents. Like when you're relying on people to make split-second good decisions with your dive bombs, you will have accidents a lot of the time. Because people aren't that good, especially on iRacing, of making these like last-minute, split-second decisions that turn out perfect every time. Because we're not pros.
100%.
I think that's a good note to end on this episode on. I want to thank you guys, Calvin, Harry. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
Happy to have you guys with me on our second episode. We're going to conclude it now. So thank you, everyone who's been watching on YouTube. This final segment, Dented Doors segment. I hope you enjoyed. Suggestions, go in the comments. Let us know on Discord as well. Links for everything in the description. Spotify, the works. We love you guys. See you in the next episode. Coming up next Monday. Bye-bye.